Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a Transformers deck building unboxing component video. This is for a Rising Darkness. This is the second core set video, I guess, or like standalone set. So they had the first one, which is just the Transformers deck building game, where you played as the Autobots and you gotta fight Decepticons, getting Autobot allies. This set is the opposite. So it's another starter set where you get to play as the Decepticons, you get to fight Autobots. And what also works really awesome with this set now is that because you have the oversized character cards for both teams, you can now play team modes. You can play 1v1 or 2v2. So you can play against another player, each one controlling a different part of the faction, which is really cool because it even adds more of the back and forth of the game. And then the following expansions coming out then, because they have Infiltration and then Dinobots, then have mixtures of both characters. So we're going to look through the Darkness Rising, and then we're going to go through the bonus pack number 2, which has the promo cards. So I'll be towards the end of the video. I'm not going to spend a ton of time in here. If you want a little bit more in-depth or like explanation how to play, you can always check out the first Transformers video where I go over it a little bit more. I kind of just want to sort of fly through what's actually in this set. But if you're not familiar with what a deck building game is so the idea is you start off, everyone starts off with a hand of basic starter cards. They're all each player has the same cards, and as you play through the game, you purchase more cards to get better decks, and you are building your deck throughout the game. As opposed to something like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you sit down and you build your deck before you play. And so how this basically works is, just a really quick rundown, is you have a grid of face-down cards of your main deck, which are made up of Autobots, Decepticons, Technologies, Allies, Maneuvers, Sites, and Relics, I think are all of them. I might be missing one. Plus, you also have other bad stuff in there as well, depending if you're playing an Autobot or a Decepticon character. And this is called the Matrix, and you're going to move around. You actually get little player characters that you move around on there, like a board game, kind of. So the deck will kind of be set up like this. And you actually move your character around, and you're trying to do is beat the bosses. Like if you're Asian Decepticon, we're going to be trying to beat Autobot bosses in here. And there's going to be various confrontations and stuff that come after us. So it's actually really cool. So yeah, the books are very good at describing stuff. There is a few changes they made in the game from the base game, and it's going forward. So the one big one is going to be the terminology update, which is the word transform and transforming are now known as convert and converting. The same implied meaning. So flipping your character card from one mode to the other. So playing with the cards from the original game, you use the old terminology. Assume those terms are referred to this updated. And the big question has been asked, why did they change from transform to convert? Aren't they transformers, not converters? It's a whole big rights issue with... I'm not going to go into all the nuanced details of it, but it's essentially, it's not just for this game, it's for the Transformers in general, is that if they... The quick gist of it is essentially... if they have robots that can turn from one thing to another, and they keep calling them transforming and to transform, is that it makes it harder. If everything can do that, it makes it harder to like copyright or trademark, I'm not sure which one it is, the word Transformers, because it's being used, a similar word, Transformers, and with transform and transformers being used so frequently, it makes it hard for them to trademark it, because it's becoming such a common term. whereas like they call it convert and converting as a different terminology. So it's essentially why they're doing it. They're trying to make the word transformer more unique so you can copyright it, because if it becomes too commonplace or similar enough stuff, it's harder for them to keep hold of it. And then anyone could call something Transformers. It's the same way, like, I guess similar, like you'd say Avengers. Like, if they walked around and they constantly kept saying, oh, we're avenging. They kept using it constantly in every book all over the place. You probably wouldn't be able to copyright the word Avenger, which I don't even think I don't know if you can. It's not maybe the best example. Alright, anywho. So that's just a quick rundown of how the game. I'd like to just kind of hop into it. So yeah, you're going to get some basic actions on here. So during your turn, you can spend Energon, which if you're familiar with the cartoon, everything, you're going to get these Energon cubes. You have big pink ones, and we have smaller pink ones here. So basically, fives and, like, it just represent different amounts that you would have. 1 and 5. You can spend them to convert, which lets you change your character from your bot mode to your alt mode. To move around on the matrix. Or search to let you flip over cards, and you can see whether it's a card you want to purchase or a card you might want to battle, like maybe get ambushed by one of the enemies. Yes, it's very interesting there. And there's some good detail. I love this. I love when instruction books do this stuff, examples of gameplay, and actually do a very good long, like half a page about what would happen during an entire turn. But yeah, you can get ambushed by other adversary robots and adversaries anyone. So if you're playing as a Decepticon, all Autobots are adversaries and vice versa. They made this game work really well, that all cards work back and forth between each faction, so that way you're not stuck having to call one thing, a different thing in a different game. Which is really fun. There's attacking, blocking, there's assisting when you're playing with other players. Very interesting different things. There's some specialty cards, which are initiatives. So there are various things that pop up that you have to deal with. So in the Autobot one, there are schemes. There are Decepticon schemes. Here, there are Autobots initiatives. These are basically the things that you're trying to thwart your opponents from doing. So Autobots want to, or the Decepticons, as you're playing in this set, want to stop Autobots from doing special things. And they have to get rid of these, otherwise they have annoying effects that happen all the time. And we'll see those when we get there. And there's some other different stuff in there. So there's endgaming, you can collect VP. So basically you win by defeating 3 bosses, or the main deck is empty. And then you want to store stuff in your vault. So it says storing victory points. After defeating adversary, thwart initiative with a vault reward, or choose a vault to vault a relic. Those cards count as your vault into your discard pile, with their main until the end of the game. Your vault is a card pile you create next to your discard pile. When you place a card into your vault, adjust your VP accordingly. Cards are regain VP, immediately gain it, grab that many tokens. Make changes if you need. Cards that don't use VP, gain it. So it's kind of a way for you to gain victory points by getting rid of cards. It's kind of a unique mechanic versus just who can buy the most cards. You also have to vault them to get rid of them. And then they have some mode in here for if you want to do team versus team. There's some extra special rules for all that. And one of them is defensive assists. You can help your friends out as well. Normally you can just help with attacking. This lets you help with defending. And I'm not going to go over like every single thing in here. Yep, so your basic thing is turn sequence. And we're going to get special turn sequence cards, of course. You get 4 of them. How the battles work. But we'll have play a card, move, search, buy or battle, activate Energon abilities, convert, or confront. And confront is you choosing to face an enemy that is face up, because you might not be on their card. Once your turn is over, you refill holes in the matrix. So you don't replace stuff until the end of the turn. So if you buy more than one thing, it stays empty. And then there's battling adversaries, which work different ways if you're doing a confrontation or not, or bosses. So the last thing I want to look at quick before we jump in, yes, getting a little bit long for me saying I'm not going to talk about this stuff, is I just want to point out the anatomy of a card here. Just so we know what some of these terms are. So up in the top corner here is going to be the cost of the card, how much power you must either pay to buy it or defeat it. So if I'm a Decepticon, I'm going to buy this card and I'm going to gain its abilities. It goes in my deck, my discard pile, I'll draw it later, I can use it for its effects. If I'm defeating it, then it gets rid of it, so I don't have to play it anymore. So you have C, D, and E here on the side, which are your power, so it's how much damage you get to play as. The range, so it's how far away this card can be used, to either do damage or to help block or do any of that stuff. And then E is the move value. So you can play this card to help you move an extra space. So that has other F is in the middle there. So it's a robot and a Decepticon, just lets you know there's different stat types. It also has a subtype of being a mini cassette. G are your game abilities. H is your Energon abilities. So when you have these, you can spend Energon to use those as well. So if you just play this, I get a peek at one card in the Matrix. But if I use the Energon, I can also do an assist. And then the I, the very last bottom, is if you defeat them. So that's the extra reward you get the other way. So that is that. Alright, then we have a sheet of tokens. So we have some victory points here, 1s, 5, 10s, these are the yellow circles. We have a bunch of power icons, so you can keep track of your power. So if you get stuff that gets you extra power during a turn, so if I played like Laserbeak and I played like Starscream, I gained like 4 power. I could keep my grab 4 power tokens, I can keep track of how much power I have. Then if I spend some of it, I can get rid of 2 of them, and then I know what I'm doing. There's also start of turn tokens as well. And if we flip these all over, on the other side we have ongoing. And this is just, I think, big tokens to help you play down on the cards to help as a reminder. This has a start of turn. This is an ongoing effect. So you have to keep trying to look down and reread all the text. So you can say, oh, this has a token, I better look for that. And then they also have minus move tokens. So if I use, so for example, like if I have Megatron, he has 1 move, and I use his move ability, I can put a -1 token down to remember that I've used 1 move. But if I play Laserbeak and I've gained an extra move, I can, have that as a reminder. I have 1 extra move point. And then finally, last tokens we have on the bottom are our 6 big Decepticons that we get to move around. And they're double-sided, so it's the same picture on both sides. Alright. Okay, now let's jump into the cards. We're also going to get standees for those. We're going to look at the oversized cards first, the characters you get to play as. So we have Megatron, of course. Of course we have Megatron. It says Bot, Megatron, Decepticon. So he has an ongoing ability here. It says each Decepticon you play during your turn has +1 power. And then he has 2 different Energon abilities. You can spend 1 for cards you control have +1 range this turn, and 2 to pay 2 less power to defeat an adversary boss this turn. So you can defeat bosses easier, gives extra range, extra power. It's definitely leader ability. And then if we convert him, he becomes a tank. I kind of wish they had something on here that said alt and then below their name said what their alt mode was. Just because I love knowing what the different ones are. But he has a 1 movement, he's a tank, he's slow, but he has +1 power at range 1 during your turn. So he gains extra damage during your turn. So now this is what you'll be. So if you're trying to move around, you'll have to turn in your alt mode to move, so he can move 1. And then he can flip back over if he wants to gain access to these other abilities. So that's why you're going to convert back and forth. You have to spend Energon to do that. Because you want to be able to move, gain extra movement from your your alt form. So we have Starscream. You may battle non-boss Decepticons. Other players cannot assist. A giant glare on here, sorry. If you defeat one, gain the reward, destroy the card, and then draw one ambush card. So that's kind of fun. He basically can sabotage other Decepticons, gain the reward for defeating them, but he has to then draw an ambush. So he's going to take a little bit of a bad card for it, and we'll look at those a little bit later. He can draw one card and discard, or he can give one damage you control to another player. And damage are fun starter cards. His alt is, of course, a fighter jet. He gets 2 movement, he has flight, and after your ambush, you may convert. So if he's been ambushed, he can convert back to his other spot. So flight lets you move in any direction. Otherwise, normally you can't move diagonally. So you can only move up, down, left, or right. Flight lets you go in other directions. And we have my favorite. We have Soundwave. Decepticons you play also have move +1. And mini cassettes you play also have power +1. You can peek at all adjacent cards, flip one of them face up, and one Decepticon or all mini cassettes gain one Decepticon or all mini cassettes from the destroyed pile. So yeah, it's kind of, you can summon extra characters to come help him. Peek around, does the surveillance. Although I wish he still turned into his boombox form. They made him into like an armored jeep or armored tank. Which is, I'm fine with that too. 2 movement, pay 1 move from this card to flip an adjacent face up card. When battling adversaries, -1 power. So he can search out cards around him. He can flip them up easier because it's kind of more reconnaissance or search character. But he gains less power for battling characters. He doesn't want to be in the battle. We have Thundercracker. So you have another one of the jet fighters. When you buy a card with flight, place it on the top of your deck. Each maneuver you control has +2 power and gain 1 maneuver in your space. So clearly he wants maneuver cards, especially things with flight. And then when he flips over, he has flight, and the first time you leave a space during each of your turns, you may flip down a card. You may flip a face-down card in that space face up. So when he leaves an area, he can see what was behind him. So it's actually kind of fun, because then he's not going to get hit by it. Then we have Scrapper. It's one of our Constructicons. The first time you play a technology during your turn, draw a card. Constructicons you play have +2 power. Destroy 1 card you control or in your hand, and gain 1 Constructicon from the Matrix or destroyed pile. So he's going to be focused on technology and Constructicons. And of course, the Constructicons, if you didn't know, form up to make Devastator, who is actually going to be available in a later set, in the Dinobots set. So he has 2 moves. During your turn, you may swap the card you are on with an adjacent card. Does not trigger ambushes. So you can get a little bit of advantage there. And our final one is the Decepticon Shrapnel. For each damage you return to the stack, gain 1 energy. +1 power at a range of 0 for each 2 damage you control. You may activate an Energon ability a second time this turn with no additional cost. So if he gets damage, he can gain some extra power, and then he can also return a bunch of the damage. So it's kind of neat. So he'll focus on that. So he also only has 1 movement when he turns into a is it a Hornet Beetle, I think. You may convert. The first time you convert to bot mode during each player's turn, gain 1 energize. When battling adversaries, -1 power. So again, not really suited for combat, but definitely interesting. So let's look at some of our basic cards here. Alright, so one of the ones we're going to have the most of is we have a ton of these, because there's going to be enough for up to 4 players to play up to 5 players. So there's going to be enough for each player to have their own set. I don't remember how many you have in each one, but we have Wrath. So these are cards everyone starts with. Everyone starts with the same one. Now, Some of these are the same as the Autobot set, the other base set. Some are a little bit different. Wrath is different. Just gets you +1 power, and it has an energy ability says confront. +1 power for every 2 Wrath you control. So if you keep these starter cards, you can actually gain a bunch of extra confront early on. So it's kind of fun. Then we have Hunt, which I believe is the other one that is different. So this one gives you 1 movement, and you may flip a card in an adjacent space face up. So this is kind of fun because then you can see what you're going to attack before you attack it. Both sets have Fix, which works the exact same way. Gives you 1 movement. You may return 1 damage controlled by any player in your space or an adjacent space to the stack. Spending Energon to destroy 1 starter you control. You can also get reserves. 1 movement. If you control 3 or fewer Energon, gain 1 Energon. And then finally, Firepower, which you're only getting 1 of each of these other cards. So like the Wrath, you're going to get a bunch of, I think you get like 5 or 6 of them. And then each of the other cards, you only get 1. But this is going to be 2 power and at 1 range. It says there's not a lot it doesn't solve. Firepower. So those are your basic cards. Your starter cards. Everyone's gonna get. Basic cards are something different. So this is a giant deck of cards. I don't know, it's 12, I think there, 12, 18, something like that. Called Rise Up. So the Decepticons have Rise Up. The Autobots have Roll Out. And what's neat about this is they're a little bit different. And they're always available to purchase. So these aren't in the Matrix, they're always available on the side, so you can always buy. So if there's nothing in the Matrix you can afford, or you don't want to try and get to, you can always purchase one of these. They cost 2, they give you 1 energy, 1 range, 1 movement, flight, and you may convert. So I don't remember if the Autobots one, I know it lets you convert, and I think it lets you do something else. It lets you move, or I think it lets you like move a spot. Where this instead gives you flight. Yes, it's a little bit different. If you are playing a mixed game with Autobots and Decepticons, it's supposed to be the Decepticons to only buy these, Autobots to only buy the other ones. If you only own 1 set and you're mixing with one of the other expansions that aren't a full set, then both characters can share the same card. So if you only bought this one, you don't buy the main one for a while, and you pick up one of the other sets, you can definitely do that. Here are damage cards. This is another pile that kind of just sits off to the side. Something gives us damage, we will add all of these in. This damage, although it has different artwork, is the same in both sets. It says, ongoing. When battling adversary, you must resolve 1 assist. At the end of the game, for every 2 damage you own, lose 1 VP. So basically what damaging does is when you get these, they stay out in front of you. Then when you're battling an opponent, every other players can choose to go and play other cards to assist you. And if you have more damage, basically the weaker you are, you have to accept their help. And why would you not want to accept another player's help? Because you're trying to get victory points. You're trying to win the most battles by themselves. If they assist you and they have to help you, like if you need to do 5 damage, you have to accept their help. And then they might do some of the damage too, then therefore they get some of the victory points as well. So that's why you don't want to have damage on you. The other way damage also works is neat is if you're playing co-op. If you're playing co-op, clearly you're not going to be worried. You're going to want to assist each other. That's the whole point of it. But co-op has a special thing that you lose if at any time you have 5 damage. So basically you want to get rid of damage as quickly as possible. In both ways. But more so in co-op because you can actually lose the game. What's also really fun about this is we're going to get 5 copies of Damage Short Circuit. So we're going to get a special damage card, which now you can shuffle into the damage deck. Says on your turn, play this card before any other card in your hand. -1 power when battling adversaries. End of game. For every 2 damage you own, you lose 1 BP. So this one doesn't stay out and cause a constant hindrance, but it will come up occasionally. When it comes up, it's going to hurt you that entire turn. Also, when you're playing co-op, if you draw this card, it immediately counts as one of your 5. So if you had 4 regular damage and you drew one of these, you'd automatically lose the game. So you want to try and get rid of these cards as quickly as possible. But that's really neat that they made an alternate damage card that kind of affects you. Alright, so now we're going to... and by character cards, I mean main deck character cards, I guess. There's the back of the cards. So we're going to look at the Decepticons first, because these are your allies. I'm trying to see if I can... I can tell there's a glare right where all that text is. Alright, so we're going to go through the Decepticons first. These are cards that you will purchase throughout the game to add to your pile. So you're going to buy Megatron. So basically you move, you flip him over, you see him. You're going to buy 5, and when you do, he goes to your discard pile. You draw him, you get to play him. He gets you 3 energy, or 3 power, 1 range. I'm not going to read off all of those stats every time. I'm just going to secretly skip the bottom one as well. So here we have, the next time you defeat an adversary during your turn, gain 1 VP. If that adversary has a cost of 4+, gain 1 energy as well. And then you can move a target character 1 space and draw a card. So we have Starscream. And you could choose to take these guys out if you're playing as the characters, but I probably wouldn't do that unless you have some expansion cards to add back in, or you have another deck to add some of the other cards in there, just so your deck doesn't become off balance, so you don't have any powerful cards. So Starscream has Flight, +2 power. If you have no cards in hand, there, I think that's a little bit better. If you have no cards in hand and this card's cost is greater than any other card you control, Assist. If this battle fails to defeat an adversary, gain 1 BP. It's kind of sabotage some people. Soundwave. Block. You may peek at the adjacent card, avoid the next ambush. You trigger this turn. Gain a card in your space with a cost of 3 or less. Thundercracker. Flight. Next time you leave a space this turn, you may flip that card face up. If you control +1 maneuvers, gain 1 VP. We have Skywarp. You may teleport to any space with an adversary, robot, or boss. You may move as power. You may spend move as power when battling adversaries this turn. Shrapnel. Draw 1 card or gain 1 energon, and confront +2 power. Bombshell. You may choose another character within range. That player must discard 1 card. Move up to 2 target characters up to 2 spaces each. There's Scrapper. So now he's going to have his Constructicon on the side here. Block. If you block for another player, draw 1 card. If you defeat an adversary this turn, gain 1 VP. We have Hook. Reveal the top card of your deck. Destroy it or leave it. Gain 1 card of the cost of 3 or less from the destroyed pile. And Mixmaster. Block. Use a sight in the matrix as though you were on that space. +X power or +X move. So now there's only got 3 different Constructicon, and there are a total of 5. So some of these characters also came in the other games. So that's why if you want to get every different character, you're going to need to buy all the different sets. So it's kind of cool and neat that way as well. We have Ravage, who's one of the mini cassettes. Block. Put 1 card from your discard pile into a player's hand and confront +1 power. And then finally, Laserbeak, who's our other mini cassette. Peek at one card of the Matrix or the top card of the main deck. Assist +1 power if you're at range 1+ to the adversary. Then we will have Autobots. So now if you're fighting against them and you're trying to beat them, you just need to pay the 5 to beat Hot Rod here. And you're going to ignore this white box and the pink box, and you're just going to look at the bottom box. But if you are playing as an Autobot, it's going to be the exact opposite. So I'm just going to ignore the bottom ones because they're usually just generally very simple about gaining VP and drawing cards. We have Hot Rod here, +1 power for each other Autobot you play or have played this turn. Confront +3 power. Ratchet. You may play or destroy one card they control. And return up to 3 damage controlled by target player to your space to the stack. So definitely healing abilities. We have Cup. Block target player gains 1 damage. Blocking attack against all characters in your space and gain 1 VP. Wheeljack. +1 power for each technology in target player's discard pile. Gain 1 technology from the Matrix or destroyed pile. Jazz. Block. You may move to an adjacent space. Assist. Gain 1 VP. Hound. Pay 2 less power to buy your next ally this turn. You may choose another player to gain it. Peek at a face down card under any character. If it costs 4 or less, gain it. Blaster. So these are Autobot Tape Master. +1 power for each maneuver in your discard pile. And gain 1 maneuver from the Matrix or destroyed pile. Cliff Jumper. Peek at the top card of your deck. If it's a starter, reveal it, then draw it. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Mirage. Pick your turn, flip an adjacent card face up. You may teleport to that space. Teleport to any space not occupied by another character. Cosmos. Flight. Block, peek an adjacent card, and target player avoids an ambush. Brawn. You may move target character 1 space and assist +2 power. And our last Autobot is Blur. Avoid all ambushes you trigger this turn and +3 to move. Alright, then we have some allies who are more or less neutral cards. So these ones are focused on more evil neutral cards. They're basically characters that aren't Autobots or Decepticons. They're not robots. Generally, they're being added because this guy clearly looks like a robot. But he's not listed as a robot on the on his card, so he doesn't affect anything that says robots. So since you have more evil allies, the Autobot set has more heroic, like Army and Spark Plug and those guys. So we have the Machination. Ongoing, pay 2 less power to buy or defeat robots in the Matrix. So when these guys are bought or gained, they're just put into play and they stay in play as ongoing abilities. They don't go back to your discard pile. Dr. Archival. Pay 2 less power to buy technology. Each technology you play has +1 power. The Facsimile Constructs. Ongoing +1 power at range 0 on your turn for each other ally in play, including those controlled by other players. Marissa Fairborn. Start of turn, you have 0 Energon, gain 2 Energon. Sean Berger. Start of turn, you may discard 1 card, then draw 1 card. And finally, Nightbird. Start of turn, you may steal 1 Energon from target player with 3+ Energon. And then we're going to get some maneuvers. Now, there's 2 copies of each of these. So we have To Punish and Enslave. When you defeat an adversary at the cost of +4, you may attack. Steal 1 ally from target player. Confront power 3. Decepticons Attack. You may attack target character within range, gains 1 damage. If blocked, draw 1 card. Confront, +1 power for each assist played. Change of plans. If it is your turn, you may flip an adjacent card face down, then flip a different adjacent card face up. If the flipped is an initiative scheme face down, gain 1 damage. So you can get rid of one of them cards and you have to deal with them, but you have to take damage to do it. Pick the top 3 cards of any of the main deck and then return them in any order. We have Strafe, Flight. Each other character in your row or column, choose one, gains 1 damage. Confront and assist, +2 power if you are at range 1 to the adversary. Mass Displacement. You may convert if you do, this card has +1 power and avoid an ambush. Wingman, Flight, block. If you block for another player, gain 1 VP. Assist, +2 power. This is the only assist resolved in battle, gain 1 VP. This isn't over. If you are or were ambushed this turn, draw a card. Return 1 damage you control to the stack. And our final maneuver is Evade, Flight, and block. If your character has Flight, you may return 1 damage target player controls to the stack. Now we get Technology, which I have 2 copies of. Mirror Response Mode. Choose 1 card target player controls. This card becomes a copy of that card for the duration of this turn. Plasma Density Charges. You may attack. Target player destroys 1 card in their hand. If blocked, destroy this card. Confront, +5 power and destroy this card at the end of your turn. The Headmaster. Block for each ally you control. Target robot has +2 power. Put a robot from your vault in your discard pile, so you can gain one of your guys back. Space Bridge. +1 power for each non-adversary robot in the Matrix. Teleport target character to any corner in the Matrix. Power Up. You may discard any number of cards. For each card discarded this way, gain 1 Energon. Confront. +2 power, then destroy 1 random card in your discard pile. Guided Missile. If this card's power may only be used for battling adversaries. This card is played during your turn, destroy at the end of your turn. Assist, each character in target space gains 1 damage. The Rectifier Machine. +1 power for each robot you control. Activate the Energon ability of target robot in the Matrix. And our final technology is the Chameleon Mesh. Block, avoid the next ambush you trigger this turn. Put this card on top of your deck. Alright, then we're going to get some powerful relics. There's only 1 copy of each of these. These cost a lot more. So they're going to have 1 target. We have the Spark Extractor. Defeat target robot, any faction in your space. At the end of the game, if this card is not destroyed, lose 5 VP. The Enigma of Combination. +1 power for each non-adversary robot in the Matrix and for each robot you control. If you put this card in your discard pile, you may put it in your vault instead. So why are these to do that? It's how they get vaulted. So basically these are powerful cards, but you gain a lot of VP if you can vault them quick. So you basically use them or get rid of them and gain extra VP. Star Saber. Gain 1 damage. All other characters in your space gain 2 damage each. If you would put this card in your discard pile, you may put it in your vault instead. The Apex Armor. You cannot gain damage this turn. You may return 2 damage you control to the stack. And Pearl of Bayahuni, or Bailden. If it's your turn, characters in your space or adjacent to it move 1 space away from your space and gain 1 damage. And our final one is the Forge of Solus Prime. Pay 2 less power to buy the next card this turn. If that card is a relic, pay 4 less instead. And then we have Sights, which are various locations. Which these get flipped up, then they stay flipped up. And they're just like different areas you can interact in. You have to be on them to use them, though. So you have Power Plant. Pay 2 move, gain 1 Energon, or draw 1 card. Weapons Facility. Pay 2 Energon, gain 1 Technology from the Matrix. Construction Site. Pay 3 move. Return all damage you control to the stack. Then if no other non-adversary player controls damage, destroy the site. The Lunar Dome. Peek at any one card in the Matrix. In co-op, if it's an adversary, initiative or Steam, reveal it. Pay 1 Energon, teleport to any card you peeked at this turn. The Decepticon Command Bunker. For Decepticons, pay 1 less Energon to activate energy and abilities. For Autobots, pay 7 power, destroy the site to gain 2 VP. So that's definitely a fun one to have because it's for versus mode. Abandoned Energon Mine. Place 12 Energon from the general supply on this card. Pay 2 power. Reveal the top card of the main deck. Gain Energon equal to the revealed card's cost. When empty, destroy this. And finally, Ore 13 Refinery. Place 9 Energon on this supply card. Destroy the top card of your deck. Gain 3 Energon. When empty, destroy this. Alright, so that makes up your main deck. Now again, you can mix and match that. You can mix and match that with all of the different stuff from the first game if you want, or mix and match with expansions. Just to try and keep stuff interesting. But you want to try and keep the same numbers. So if there was like, if you get rid of like a 5-card Autobot or technology card, put a 5-card cost technology from a different set. If you get rid of one of the sites, add a different site thing. To try and keep the numbers the same amount. If it becomes too bloated, if you just add them all together and have like a 200-card deck, you're never going to empty that deck out. So that means there'll never be a victory condition. Alright, so these are initiatives. These are ones that pop up during the game that just affect us. If you reveal these, you have to then deal with these. So this is let's even the odds. Ongoing. You pay 1 more power to defeat adversaries for each player in the game. When you play a legal assist, gain 1 VP. To thwart, if every non-active player places a legal assist in this battle, thwart after the battle concludes. So basically what you want to do is, if you don't get rid of this, it's going to be harder for you to beat everything. So we have running on empty. Players cannot gain or spend Energon. To thwart, contribute 4 cards that cost a 3+. For each card you contribute, gain 1 VP. When thwarted, destroy all cards in this space. Yes, if you don't get rid of this, you can't spend or gain Energon. To contribute cards, you basically not discarding, but like KOing or getting rid of cards out of your hand. And now, if you're playing as a team, like you're playing with somebody else or a couple people are playing, you can each choose, so you're playing like a 4-player game, you can each choose to get rid of 1 card. So it's not all being pushed on 1 character. We have Robots in Disguise. Start a turn, flip all robots in the Matrix face down. To thwart, defeat or buy a robot in a space adjacent to this card. Skywatch Alliance. Start a turn, discard 1 robot from your hand. If none, gain 1 damage instead. To thwart, contribute 4 different starters. For each card you contribute this way, gain 1 VP for every non-Wrath card under this. Trist Accord Violation. Ongoing robots you play are blank except for move. While in the space, you may destroy 1 robot you control. To thwart, destroy 1 robot you control. This time we hit back. Ongoing, when you defeat an Autobot, draw and resolve an ambush. To thwart, block the ambush triggered by this card. And not so fast. Ongoing, non-starter cards you play have 0 move, and to thwart, defeating Autobot, robot, or boss with a cost of 4+. So it's to add in, make it a little bit harder, and then Autobots have their own different ones, or Decepticons themed in there. So now we're going to have the encounters. Now, functionally, these work the same way regardless of which player you're carrying. Playing as which team? I don't know why they made different backs for them though. I wish they would have kept them the same. So if you get ambushed, basically you would if you get ambushed, you have to draw the cards. So if you flip over an adversary, you have to play the ambush part. If you're choosing to fight a boss, you'll draw one of these. So you always should reshuffle the deck back up. So you're gonna get some of these multiple times. You're stuck in neutral. Just as if you're ambushed, you attack, you lose 1 VP. On boss reveal, the ambush hits all adversaries. If you're using it for a boss confrontation, you add 3 to the adversary's cost, and each of the other players destroys one of the cards in their discard pile. Elusive maneuvers, attack, lose 2 energon, or boss reveal, ambush all adversaries, and boss confrontation, add 1 to the adversary's cost, plus 1 for each additional card in your vault. If you have no cards in your vault, gain 1 damage. This ends here. Attack, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a starter, gain 1 damage, otherwise destroy it. And confrontation, add 1 to the adversary's cost, plus 1 additional for each VP you have. If you have no VP, gain 2 damage. We must stand our ground. Attack. Destroy non-starter, non-damage cards you control. If none, gain 1 damage instead. And confrontation, add 1 to adversary's cost for each energon you control. If this is 2 or fewer, also gain 1 damage. Autobots, roll out. Attack. This adversary cannot be battled this turn. And confrontation, add 2 to the adversary's cost for each Autobot robot in the Matrix. If none, gain 2 damage. Never give up. Gain 1 damage. In confrontation, attack. Destroy 1 card at the cost of +3 you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage. 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall. Attack. Destroy 1 relic in your discard pile or 1 you control. If none, gain 2 damage. And confrontation. Destroy 1 technology you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage. Evil cannot win. Lose 1 VP in confrontation. Destroy 1 maneuver you control. If you cannot, gain 2 damage. Others will rise. Lose 2 energon or confrontation. Destroy 1 robot you control or gain 2 damage. And the last one is help is on the way. Gain 1 damage. Or confrontation, add X to the adversary's cost, where X is the highest cost of the non-boss card currently in the Matrix. Alright, so those are those fun cards. And then the last ones we're going to get, which have the regular backs, are boss cards. See, we can end up flipping over a boss. But now, bosses are shuffled strategic throughout the deck. So you have, like, you set up your first row of the Matrix, so there's no bosses in there. Then you add a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3 boss. Each separate extra decks. You have the full entire base you start with that will never have a boss in it. And then you have to go through this extra little deck of like so many cards, and you only get 1 boss. And then you have to go through the next set, and you only have 1 in there. So you could end up fighting 2 bosses back to back. Like if you drew 1 at the tail end of the first little deck, and like the beginning of the next deck, they can end up getting put out like right next to each other. But the fact is you still have the entire Matrix to go around. But even if you did that, though, you get the full original Matrix plus all them other cards to build up before you even came across maybe your first boss. And then if you would have gotten your next one right away, that means now you have the entire rest of that deck without having to worry about it. So it's a neat little way so that way you don't get hurt too quickly. So we get 2 of each level, so you always have some different options to play as. We have Bumblebee here. Reveal attack, discard 1 card, then resolve an ambush. Start of the turn, gain 1 damage. Or you can fight off against RC. Reveal attack, the top 2 cards of your deck and discard 1. Each cost with +2, then resolve an ambush. Or ongoing, cards played by adversary players have range 0, not just the active player. Our level 2, it's up in the top corner here, also costs a little bit more. It costs 8 to beat, is Ironhide. Reveal attack, gain 1 damage. discard an ally you control, then resolve an ambush. At the start of your turn, discard one starter card. Or Prowl. Reveal, lose 1 VP for each Autobot initiative in the Matrix. If none, gain 1 damage. Then resolve an ambush. Start your turn, lose 1 VP. If you control plus 1 damage. If you control no damage, gain 1 damage instead. And then our third level 3s are Optimus Prime, of course. Reveal, discard each ally you control, then resolve an ambush. Start a turn, draw and resolve an ambush. And then finally we have Omega Supreme. Reveal, discard each ally you control, resolve an ambush. And ongoing, flight movement, diagonal, cannot be performed. When you move into this card or an adjacent space, gain 1 damage. So those are bosses. Alright. That is what we have currently for the Rising Darkness. Yeah, so lots of interesting stuff, some different things. We're going to do a quick look at the promo pack. So this came, you can either buy this separate in the Renegade store, or if you pre-ordered, you would have gotten it for free. So if like you're interested in this game, definitely keep an eye on their upcoming games and sets, because they always have free promotional packs and you pre-order ahead of time. Otherwise, they're like $5. So what this is going to do is give us a couple of new cards. So we're going to get a new standee and a new character. So we have a new boss to play as. We get to play as Astro Train. And now I'll go list promo down here in the corner. Otherwise, he functions 100% like all the rest of the characters. But now you can play as Astro Train. He doesn't function exactly like them. The first time you convert to an alt mode, each turn, draw a card. Target player shuffles 1 ally they control into their deck, and disrupt the 2 cards in your discard pile. So, what makes Astro Train really unique is he's a triple changer. So what this means is he has his normal bot mode, and then if we flip him over, he actually has 2 different forms. So select Astro Train alt mode and place that card's alt mode face up on this card. So we can play his spaceship version, who has 2 movement and flight. When battling adversaries, -1 power. This will help you move around the board quicker. Or this card actually flips over and we can play his train mode, which has only 1 movement, but says when you move, you may move any Decepticon characters in your space with you. So it's really all about moving and getting around. So he's a very helpful character that way. Because you can either move this way and bring someone with you, or you can flip to your other side, gain your extra movement, and you can go diagonal. So you can get around the board pretty quick to shuttle characters around. So yeah, so that's definitely fun there. Then the other cards we're going to get is we're going to get some new robots. We have Rat Bat, another mini cassette. Flight, next time you gain Energon this turn, gain 1 additional Energon. And put 1 card from your discard pile into your hand. So this is a 2 cost. So you can shove this in to replace another 2 cost character. So if we're just changing out this, our 2 costs is Mixmaster, Ravage, and Laserbeak. So you could swap out Mixmaster to have a 3rd mini cassette in there, which if you're maybe playing with Soundwave would give you an extra advantage. Although if you're playing as Scrapper, you're probably going to want to keep that extra. You might want to, then maybe you can always get rid of one of the other guys if you like him instead. Or you can see what's in the other set if you're combining them. And then we have Onslaught, who's level 5, or cost of 5. He's a Combaticon. So that's a new type we haven't seen before, but he will be useful in later sets. Block, you may destroy 1 card in your discard pile. Target player must reveal their hand and place a legal assist during this turn if able. So what level 5 Decepticons do we have? That's going to replace either your Megatron, Starscream, or Soundwave. So again, if you're maybe, if you want a little bit more power, you could get rid of one of those guys. And there are 2 new Autobots. As we have Drift, who's also a 2 with +1 power when battling adversaries. If you defeat a robot this turn, gain 1 VP. And Ultra Magnus. If it's your turn, you may teleport to any other character space in the Matrix. If you do, you may flip a card face up or face down. If you thwarted a scheme or initiative this turn, gain 1 VP and draw 1 card. And what Autobots do we have in this set to replace them with? Blur, Cosmo, or Brawn. Or our 5s, of course, are Hot Rod, Ratchet, and Cup. So you have some different ones there. Yeah, so definitely cool. Get some extra little bonus cards. 4 extra robots. Astro Train to play as. Plus, he says the first time you convert to alt mode, you turn draw cards that he wants to keep changing back and forth. Definitely cool. I like the cards support characters for this game, and not just this guy's a ranged attacker, this guy's a melee attacker. There's characters like him who are about moving guys around, or Soundwave who are about like searching out different areas. Even to some extent, someone like Thundercracker, who's like when he moves different areas, he reveals stuff, so you can kind of like be a seeker, which is what he is, and see stuff ahead of time. So some of that stuff makes the game extra fun because you're gonna get different combinations. Again, you can combine this with the original set to get some more various sets, or you can check out the other expansions, Infiltration and Dinobots, which are the next to announce. Alright, see you guys in those videos. Bye!